The snow fell like tiny white knives, cutting through the freezing air. Emma sat on the cold ground, her back pressed against the rough brick wall of a closed shop. In her arms, she held her baby girl, Lily, who was only 3 weeks old. The baby's lips were turning blue. Emma's thin jacket was soaked through. Her fingers were so cold they felt like they might break off. She tried to shield Lily from the wind, but it wasn't enough. The baby's tiny cries were getting weaker and weaker. "Please," Emma whispered to the people walking past. "Please, my baby needs help." But everyone just walked faster. Nobody stopped. Nobody looked. Emma's own stomach hadn't had food in 2 days. Her head felt dizzy and light. But all she could think about was Lily, her precious baby girl who didn't deserve this, who didn't ask to be born into this nightmare. Just 3 months ago, Emma had a home. She had a husband named Marcus. She had dreams of being a mother. She had hope. Now she had nothing but the dying baby in her arms and the memory of Marcus's cold words. "I never wanted this kid. You're on your own." Emma looked down at Lily's face. The baby's eyes were closed now. She wasn't crying anymore. "No, no, no," Emma sobbed, shaking her daughter gently. "Lily, wake up. Please wake up, baby. Please." But before we continue with what happens next, let me ask you, where are you watching this from? Drop your location in the comments. And if you want to know what Emma does next that will make Marcus wish he never left her, hit that like button right now. Emma Parker had always believed in fairy tales. Maybe that was her first mistake. She met Marcus Thompson at the small bookstore where she worked. Emma was 23 years old, with kind brown eyes and long dark hair that she always wore in a simple ponytail. She loved reading romance novels during her breaks, dreaming about the day she'd find her own love story. Marcus walked into the bookstore on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. He was tall and handsome, with perfect hair and an expensive suit. He smiled at Emma like she was the only person in the world. "Excuse me," he said in a smooth voice. "I'm looking for a birthday gift for my mother. She loves mystery novels." Emma felt her heart beat faster. Nobody that good-looking had ever talked to her before. She was used to being invisible, the quiet girl who organized books and cleaned shelves. "I can help you," Emma said shyly. "We have a wonderful collection of mysteries over here." She led Marcus to the back corner of the store. As they looked at books together, Marcus asked her questions. What was her name? How long had she worked here? Did she enjoy reading? Emma found herself talking more than she usually did. Marcus had a way of making her feel special. He laughed at her jokes. He looked into her eyes when she spoke. He seemed genuinely interested in everything she said. "You know what?" Marcus said after they'd been talking for almost an hour. "I forgot all about my mother's gift. I've been too busy getting to know you." Emma blushed. "Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have kept you." "Don't apologize," Marcus said, taking her hand. His touch sent electricity through her body. "This has been the best part of my week. Would you maybe want to have dinner with me sometime?" Emma couldn't believe it. This amazing man wanted to take her on a date? "Yes," she whispered. "I'd love that." Over the next 3 months, Emma fell deeply in love with Marcus. He took her to fancy restaurants she could never afford. He bought her beautiful dresses and jewelry. He told her she was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. Marcus said he worked in investments. Emma didn't really understand what that meant, but it sounded impressive. He always had money for expensive dates and gifts. On their 3-month anniversary, Marcus took Emma to the fanciest restaurant in the city. It had crystal chandeliers and waiters in tuxedos. Emma felt like a princess in the blue dress Marcus had bought her. "Emma," Marcus said, reaching across the table to hold her hand. "These 3 months with you have been incredible. I never believed in love at first sight until I met you." Emma's eyes filled with happy tears. "I feel the same way, Marcus. I know we haven't known each other very long," Marcus continued. "But when you know, right?" Emma nodded, her heart pounding. Marcus got down on one knee right there in the restaurant. Everyone around them stopped eating to watch. "Emma Parker," Marcus said, pulling out a small black box. Will you marry me? The diamond ring sparkled under the chandelier lights. Emma couldn't breathe. This was really happening. Her fairy tale was coming true. Yes, Emma cried. Yes, yes, yes. The whole restaurant clapped and cheered. Marcus slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her. Emma felt like she was floating on a cloud. They got married 2 weeks later at City Hall. It was a small ceremony. Just them and 2 witnesses they pulled in from the street. Marcus said he didn't want to wait. He said when you find your soulmate, every day without them is wasted. Emma thought it was romantic. She didn't question why Marcus didn't invite any family or friends. She didn't wonder why he wanted to rush. She was too happy, too in love, too excited about her new life. Marcus moved into Emma's tiny apartment above the bookstore. It wasn't fancy like the restaurants he took her to, but Emma didn't care. She had her husband. That was all that mattered. For the first month of marriage, everything was perfect. Marcus would bring her flowers. They would cook dinner together. They would stay up late talking about their dreams and future. I want to give you the world, Marcus would say, holding her close. You deserve everything, Emma. I don't need the world, Emma would reply. I just need you. But then things started to change. It began with small things. Marcus stopped bringing flowers. He stayed out late more often, saying he had important business meetings. When Emma asked about his work, he would get annoyed. You wouldn't understand, he'd snap. It's complicated. Emma tried not to let it bother her. Every marriage had adjustments, right? This was normal. Then one morning, Emma woke up feeling sick. She ran to the bathroom and threw up. This happened for 3 days in a row. Emma's coworker at the bookstore, an older woman named Margaret, noticed Emma looking pale and tired. Honey, Margaret said gently, have you taken a pregnancy test? Emma's eyes went wide. Could she be? That evening, while Marcus was out at another business meeting, Emma bought a pregnancy test from the pharmacy. Her hands shook as she waited for the results. 2 pink lines. Positive. Emma felt a rush of emotions all at once: joy, fear, excitement, worry. She was going to be a mother. She and Marcus were going to have a baby. She couldn't wait to tell him. This would fix everything. A baby would bring them closer together. They would be a real family. Emma made Marcus's favorite dinner, spaghetti with homemade sauce. She set the table with candles. She put the pregnancy test in a small gift box with a bow on top. When Marcus came home at almost midnight, he looked exhausted and annoyed. What's all this? He asked, looking at the candles. I have something to tell you, Emma said, smiling nervously. Something wonderful. She handed him the gift box. Marcus opened it. He stared at the pregnancy test for a long moment. Emma watched his face, waiting for the joy, the excitement, the happiness. But Marcus's expression turned dark. His jaw clenched. His eyes went cold. What is this? He said in a low, angry voice. We're having a baby, Emma said, her smile faltering. Isn't it amazing? We're going to be parents. Marcus threw the box across the room. It hit the wall and fell to the floor. Are you insane? He shouted. A baby? Now? Emma stepped back, shocked. This wasn't the reaction she expected. I thought you'd be happy, she stammered. You said you wanted to build a life with me. You said. I said a lot of things, Marcus interrupted. Things women want to hear. But a baby? No, absolutely not. What do you mean? Emma felt tears starting to form. Marcus, we're married. This is our child. You need to get rid of it, Marcus said coldly. Emma's hand instinctively went to her stomach. No, I'm keeping our baby. Then you're keeping it alone, Marcus said. He grabbed his coat. I'm done. This was fun while it lasted, but I'm not ready to be someone's father. I'm not ready to be tied down with responsibilities. Wait, Emma begged, grabbing his arm. Please, Marcus, don't go. We can figure this out together. I love you. Marcus pulled his arm away roughly. You barely know me, Emma. You fell for a few nice dinners and some pretty words. That's not love. That's desperation. His words cut deeper than any knife could. "But our wedding vows," Emma cried. "You promised." "Promises are just words," Marcus said, heading for the door. "Grow up, Emma. Fairy tales aren't real." "Where will I go?" Emma asked, her voice breaking. "How will I take care of a baby alone?" Marcus paused at the door. For a moment, Emma thought he might change his mind. Maybe he would turn around, apologize, hold her, tell her everything would be okay. But instead, he said, "That's not my problem anymore. Good luck, Emma. You're going to need it." And then he was gone. Emma stood in the middle of her apartment, surrounded by the romantic candles, the cold spaghetti, and the broken remains of the gift box on the floor. She sank to her knees and cried harder than she'd ever cried in her life. The next 3 months were the hardest of Emma's life. She tried to keep working at the bookstore, but the morning sickness was severe. She could barely keep food down. She felt weak and dizzy all the time. Her boss, Mr. Chun, was a kind man, but he ran a business. When Emma had to call in sick for the 5th time in 2 weeks, he had to let her go. "I'm sorry, Emma," Mr. Chun said sadly. "I wish I could help, but I need someone reliable. I have to think about the store." Emma understood, but understanding didn't pay the bills. Without her job, Emma couldn't pay rent. Her landlord gave her 2 weeks to move out. Emma had no family to turn to. Her parents had died in a car accident when she was 18. She had no siblings, no close friends. She had spent so much time with Marcus over the past few months that she'd lost touch with the few acquaintances she'd had. She tried calling Marcus dozens of times, but he'd blocked her number. She went to the fancy restaurant where they'd had their first date, hoping to find him. The waiters said they'd never seen him. It was like Marcus Thompson had never existed. Emma realized she'd never even been to his apartment. She didn't know where he worked. She didn't know his parents' names or where he was from. He'd shared so little real information about himself. How could she have been so blind? So stupid? With nowhere else to go, Emma ended up at a homeless shelter. The shelter was crowded and cold. She had to wait in line for hours to get a bed each night. Sometimes there weren't enough beds, and she had to sleep on the floor. The other people at the shelter were kind to her. They shared what little food they had. They gave her advice on where to find free meals and clothes. An older homeless woman named Rose took Emma under her wing. "You got to be tough out here, baby girl," Rose said. "The world don't care about your story. You got to keep fighting every single day." Emma tried to stay strong. She went to free health clinics for checkups on her baby. She applied for any job that would hire a pregnant woman. She collected cans to recycle for a few dollars. But no matter how hard she tried, it wasn't enough. As Emma's belly grew bigger, things got even harder. She couldn't move as fast. Her back hurt constantly. Her feet swelled up. She couldn't sleep well because the baby would kick and move all night. On a cold November night, Emma went into labor 3 weeks early. Rose found her doubled over in pain in the shelter bathroom. "Oh Lord," Rose said, "your baby's coming. We need to get you to a hospital." Rose and 2 other women from the shelter helped Emma to the nearest emergency room. The hospital staff looked at Emma with pity. A homeless, pregnant girl with no insurance and no money. But they helped her anyway. They had to. After 12 hours of painful labor, Emma gave birth to a tiny baby girl. The moment the doctor placed that squirming, crying baby in Emma's arms, everything changed. Emma looked down at her daughter's red, wrinkled face and felt a love so powerful it hurt. This little person was hers. This was her daughter, her baby. "Lily," Emma whispered. "Your name is Lily." The baby had Marcus's nose and Emma's brown eyes. She was the most beautiful thing Emma had ever seen. For 3 days, Emma and Lily stayed in the hospital. Emma learned how to feed her baby, how to change diapers, how to hold her tiny head properly. But then it was time to leave. "Where will you go?" the nurse asked gently, knowing Emma was homeless. "I don't know," Emma admitted, "but I'll figure it out. I have to, for her." Emma left the hospital with her 3-day-old baby, a small bag of diapers and formula the hospital gave her, and absolutely nothing else. It was December now. Winter had come early and harsh. The temperature dropped below freezing. Emma tried to get back into the shelter, but they had a waiting list now. She put her name down, but it would be weeks before a spot opened up. What do I do until then? Emma asked desperately. I have a newborn baby. The shelter worker looked genuinely sorry. There's an emergency warming station at the church on 5th Street. It's not much, but it's warm. Emma walked the 2 miles to the church, carrying Lily carefully, trying to keep her baby warm. The warming station was just a large room with chairs and some blankets. It was better than being outside, but barely. It was crowded with dozens of other homeless people, all trying to escape the cold. Emma found a corner and sat down, holding Lily close. Her baby was so small, so fragile. How could Emma keep her safe in a place like this? That night, Emma barely slept. Every sound made her jump. She was terrified someone might hurt them, might try to take the few things she had. By morning, Emma was exhausted. The small amount of formula the hospital had given her was already running low. She had no money to buy more. She had no diapers left. Emma walked to a local church that she'd heard gave out free food. But when she got there, the line was so long it wrapped around the building. By the time Emma got to the front, they'd run out of supplies. Come back tomorrow, the volunteer said. But Lily couldn't wait until tomorrow. She needed to eat now. Emma tried asking people on the street for help. Most ignored her. Some gave her angry looks, like she was trying to scam them. One woman spit at her feet and called her a bad mother. Emma felt herself breaking. How much more could she take? How much more could her tiny baby endure? That evening, it started to snow. Emma had nowhere to go. The warming center was full. The shelter had no space. She had no money for a motel, not even the cheapest one. So Emma found herself huddled against a brick wall in an alley, trying to shield 3-week-old Lily from the falling snow. The baby was crying a weak, tired cry that broke Emma's heart. I'm sorry, Emma sobbed, holding Lily close. I'm so sorry, baby girl. I'm trying so hard. Emma's thin jacket was soaked through. She was shaking from the cold. Her teeth chattered. Her fingers felt numb. But worse than her own suffering was watching Lily suffer. The baby's lips were turning blue. Her tiny body was cold to the touch. Please, Emma called out to the people walking past. Please, someone help us. My baby needs help. But no one stopped. Emma felt herself getting weaker. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. Her head felt light and dizzy. Her vision started to blur. She looked down at Lily. Her baby's eyes were closed. She wasn't crying anymore. No, Emma gasped. No, Lily, stay with me. Please, baby. Please don't leave me. Emma tried to stand up to get help to do something, but her legs wouldn't work. She was too weak, too cold, too broken. She slumped back against the wall, holding her silent baby. I'm sorry, Emma whispered one more time. I'm so sorry I failed you. Just as Emma's own eyes started to close, she heard footsteps approaching. Through her blurry vision, Emma saw an old man in an expensive coat standing over her. My God, the man said in a shocked voice. Miss, are you all right? Emma tried to answer, but no words came out. The man knelt down beside her. He looked at the baby in Emma's arms. His eyes widened with alarm. Robert, the man called out. Call an ambulance now. A younger man in a suit appeared and pulled out a phone. The old man gently took Lily from Emma's arms. This baby needs immediate medical attention. No, Emma tried to say, reaching for her daughter. Don't take her. But Emma was too weak. Her arm fell back down. I'm not taking her, the old man said gently. I'm helping her. And you, just hold on, young lady. Help is coming. Emma heard sirens in the distance. Getting closer, closer. Then everything went black. Emma's eyes slowly opened. The first thing she noticed was that she was warm, truly, deeply warm for the first time in weeks. The second thing she noticed was the steady beeping sound beside her. She was in a hospital bed. Emma's heart jumped with panic. She tried to sit up quickly, but her body was too weak. Lily, she gasped. Where's my baby? Where's Lily? A nurse rushed to her side. She was a kind-looking woman with gentle eyes and gray hair pulled back in a bun. "Calm down, sweetie," the nurse said softly, placing a hand on Emma's shoulder. "Your baby is safe. She's in the neonatal unit. The doctors are taking excellent care of her." "I need to see her," Emma said, tears streaming down her face. "Please, I need to see my daughter." "And you will," the nurse promised. "But first, let me check your vitals. You've been unconscious for almost 18 hours. You were severely dehydrated and malnourished. You nearly died out there." 18 hours? Emma couldn't believe it. She'd lost almost a whole day. "Is Lily okay?" Emma asked desperately. "Please tell me she's okay." The nurse smiled. "Your daughter is a fighter. She was suffering from hypothermia and dehydration, but she's stable now. She's in an incubator getting the warmth and nutrition she needs." Emma sobbed with relief. Lily was alive. Her baby girl was alive. "How did we get here?" Emma asked. "I remember an old man, and then nothing. Mr. Charles Whitmore brought you in," the nurse explained. "He's actually here. He's been waiting all night to make sure you both were okay. Would you like to see him?" Emma nodded. She wanted to thank whoever had saved her daughter's life. A few minutes later, the nurse returned with the old man Emma vaguely remembered from the alley. He was probably in his 70s, with white hair, intelligent blue eyes, and an expensive-looking suit. Even though he'd been awake all night, he looked dignified and composed. "Miss Parker," the man said warmly, approaching her bed. "I'm so relieved to see you awake. You gave us quite a scare." "You saved us," Emma whispered. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Charles Whitmore smiled sadly. "I only wish I'd found you sooner. No mother and child should ever be in such a desperate situation." "How did you find us?" Emma asked. "I was walking back to my car after a business dinner," Charles explained. "I took a shortcut through that alley. When I saw you and your baby, my God, I've never moved so fast in my life. My driver called the ambulance while I tried to keep you both warm." "I don't know how to repay you," Emma said. "I have no money. No way to pay for this hospital stay, no." Charles held up his hand. "Please don't worry about that. I've already taken care of all the medical expenses. For you and your daughter." Emma's eyes widened. "What? No, I can't accept that. It must cost thousands of dollars." "It's already done," Charles said firmly but kindly. "Consider it a gift from one human being to another." Emma couldn't stop crying. After weeks of people ignoring her, stepping over her, treating her like trash, the stranger had shown her more kindness than she'd experienced in months. "Why?" Emma asked. "Why would you do this for someone you don't even know?" Charles's expression became thoughtful and a little sad. "Many years ago, I lost my own daughter. She was about your age when she died. Cancer. I would have given anything, every penny I had, to save her. But money couldn't fix what was wrong." He paused, his eyes distant with memory. "When I saw you in that alley holding your baby, for a moment I saw my daughter. I saw someone who needed help, who deserved help. I couldn't save my Elizabeth, but I could save you and your little one." Emma reached out and took Charles's hand. "I'm so sorry about your daughter, and I'm so grateful for what you've done. You gave Lily a chance at life." "Lily," Charles repeated with a smile. "That's a beautiful name." Over the next few days, Emma slowly regained her strength. The doctors gave her 4 fluids and nutrition. They treated her for frostbite on her fingers and toes, nothing serious, but it could have been much worse. Emma was finally allowed to see Lily. When the nurse wheeled her into the neonatal unit, Emma's heart swelled with love and relief. There was her baby girl in a small incubator with tiny tubes and wires monitoring her. But Lily's cheeks had color now. Her lips were pink, not blue. She was sleeping peacefully, looking like a little angel. "Hi, baby," Emma whispered, pressing her hand against the incubator. "Mommy's here. We're going to be okay now. I promise." Charles visited Emma every single day. He would bring her real food, not hospital food, but meals from nice restaurants. He brought her books to read and magazines. He even brought soft new clothes for Emma and tiny outfits for Lily. But more than the gifts, Charles gave Emma something even more valuable: his time and attention. He would sit with her for hours, listening to her story, asking about her life. Emma found herself telling Charles everything. About her parents' death, about meeting Marcus, about the whirlwind romance and marriage, about the pregnancy and abandonment, about the months of struggling and suffering. Charles listened to it all without judgment. His face showed sadness and anger at what Emma had endured, but never pity. He treated her like a person who deserved respect, not a charity case. "This Marcus," Charles said one afternoon, his voice hard. "Do you know his full name? Where he worked?" "Marcus Thompson," Emma said. "At least that's what he told me. But I'm starting to wonder if anything he told me was true. I never met his family. I never saw where he lived or worked. He was like a ghost. There one moment, gone the next." Charles pulled out his phone. "Would you mind if I had my security team look into this? This man abandoned you and your child. He should be held accountable." "What could they do?" Emma asked. "Even if you find him, he made it clear he wants nothing to do with us." "He's still Lily's father," Charles said firmly. "He has legal and financial responsibilities, whether he likes it or not. At minimum, he owes child support." Emma hadn't even thought about that. She'd been so focused on just surviving that legal matters seemed impossible and far away. "Okay," Emma agreed. "If you think it might help Lily, then yes. Please look into it." Charles made a call to someone named Robert, the same man who'd been with him in the alley that night. After a week in the hospital, the doctors said both Emma and Lily were healthy enough to be discharged. Emma's relief turned to panic. Discharged to where? She still had no home, no job, no money. Charles seemed to read her mind. "Emma," he said gently, "I've been thinking. I have a large house with many empty rooms. My wife passed away 5 years ago, and it's just me and my staff rattling around in that big place. Would you and Lily consider staying there? Just until you get back on your feet?" Emma's jaw dropped. "Mr. Whitmore, I can't possibly." "Please," Charles interrupted. "Call me Charles. And yes, you can. You need somewhere safe and warm for your daughter. I have the space. It would actually be nice to have a child's laughter in the house again. Elizabeth's son, my grandson, lives across the country. I barely see him. I don't want to be a burden," Emma said quietly. "You wouldn't be," Charles assured her. "In fact, you'd be doing me a favor. Since my wife died, the house has felt like a tomb. Having you and Lily there would bring life back to it." Emma thought about the alternative. Going back to the shelter or the streets or the overcrowded warming center. Putting Lily at risk again. "Are you sure?" Emma asked. "You barely know me." Charles smiled. "I know enough. I know you're a loving mother who nearly froze to death trying to protect her child. I know you've been dealt a terrible hand, but you keep fighting. That's all I need to know." So Emma agreed. Charles's house was not just a house. It was a mansion. When the car pulled up to the massive estate with its iron gates and sprawling grounds, Emma couldn't believe her eyes. "You live here?" she gasped. "Alone?" Charles chuckled. "Like I said, it's too big for one old man. Come on. Let me show you around." Inside was even more impressive. Crystal chandeliers hung from high ceilings. Marble floors gleamed. Priceless art decorated the walls. Emma had never seen anything like it except in movies. "This is your room," Charles said, opening a door on the second floor. The bedroom was bigger than Emma's entire old apartment. It had a massive bed with soft pillows, a sitting area with comfortable chairs, and large windows overlooking the gardens. Connected to it was a nursery, already set up with a crib, changing table, and everything a baby could need. "When did you?" Emma started to ask. "I had my staff prepare it while you were in the hospital," Charles said. "I hope you don't mind. I might have gotten carried away with the shopping." Emma walked into the nursery, touching the mobile hanging over the crib, the soft blankets, the stuffed animals lined up on a shelf. Tears filled her eyes. "Nobody's ever done anything like this for me," she whispered. "Well, get used to it," Charles said warmly. "You're family now, Emma." You and Lily both. Over the next 2 weeks, Emma settled into her new life at the Whitmore estate. Felt like a dream, a wonderful, impossible dream. She had her own room with a real bed. She had hot showers whenever she wanted. She had more food than she could eat. Most importantly, Lily had everything she needed. The baby was thriving, gaining weight, becoming stronger and healthier every day. Charles's staff, a housekeeper named Maria, a cook named Chan, and a gardener named Thomas, all welcomed Emma warmly. They cooed over Lily and helped Emma whenever she needed it. Charles had also hired a nanny named Sophie, a kind woman in her 30s, to help Emma with Lily. At first, Emma resisted. "I can take care of my own daughter," Emma said defensively. "Of course you can," Charles agreed. "But even the best mothers need help sometimes. Sophie is here so you can take a shower or have a meal or just rest for an hour without worrying. That's all." Emma gradually accepted the help. And Charles was right, having someone to watch Lily for even an hour while Emma took a long, hot bath was heavenly. But Emma didn't want to just take Charles's charity without giving anything back. She insisted on helping around the house. She would fold laundry, help Maria clean, assist Chan in the kitchen. "You don't have to do this," Charles would say. "I know," Emma replied. "But I want to. I need to feel useful." Charles seemed to understand. He never pushed, never made Emma feel like a freeloader. He treated her like a guest, but also like a person with her own dignity and pride. One afternoon, about 3 weeks after Emma had moved in, Charles asked to speak with her in his study. Emma entered the wood-paneled room lined with thousands of books. Charles sat behind his large desk, looking serious. "Emma, please sit down," he said. "Robert has completed his investigation into Marcus Thompson." Emma's heart raced. She sat down in the leather chair across from Charles's desk, holding her breath. "First, the bad news," Charles said. "Marcus Thompson is not his real name." Emma felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. She'd suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed still hurt. "His real name is Marcus Dawson," Charles continued. "He's a con artist. He targets vulnerable women, romances them, marries them, and then disappears, usually after stealing money or valuables from them." "But I had nothing to steal," Emma said quietly. "I was just a bookstore clerk." "Which is probably why he left so quickly when you got pregnant," Charles explained. "You weren't the Mark he thought you were. The pregnancy complicated things, so he cut his losses and moved on." Emma felt sick. Their entire relationship had been a lie. Every word, every kiss, every promise, all fake. She hadn't been special to Marcus. She'd just been a failed scam. "There's more," Charles said gently. "Marcus has done this to at least 7 other women that we know of. 2 of them also had babies that he abandoned. One woman lost her entire savings, over $50,000. Another lost her house." "That's horrible," Emma whispered. "Those poor women." "Robert has contacted the authorities," Charles said. "They're building a case against Marcus. With testimony from you and the other victims, they believe they can arrest him." Emma felt a complicated mix of emotions. Anger at Marcus for hurting so many people. Sadness for the other women he'd deceived. Relief that he might finally face consequences. "Will I have to testify?" Emma asked. "Possibly," Charles said. "But only if you're comfortable doing so. No one will force you." "I'll do it," Emma said firmly. "If it means stopping him from hurting anyone else, I'll do it." Charles smiled proudly. "You're a brave young woman, Emma." "I don't feel brave," Emma admitted. "I feel stupid. I fell for every lie he told me." "He's a professional manipulator," Charles said. "He's probably been doing this for years. You're not stupid, you're human. You wanted to believe in love. There's nothing wrong with that." Emma nodded, but she still felt the weight of her mistakes. "There's something else," Charles said. "Something that Robert discovered in his investigation. Something about you." Emma looked up, confused. "About me?" Charles pulled out a folder and opened it. Inside were old photographs and documents. "Emma, what was your mother's full maiden name?" Charles asked. "Sarah Chun," Emma replied. Why? Charles laid out a photograph. It showed a young Asian woman, probably in her 20s, smiling at the camera. She was beautiful and elegant, wearing a traditional Chinese dress. Is this your mother? Charles asked. Emma picked up the photo with shaking hands. Yes, this is from before she married my father. Where did you get this? Charles laid out more documents. Birth certificates, marriage certificates, legal papers. Emma, when Robert was digging into your background to verify your identity for the legal case against Marcus, he found something unexpected, Charles said carefully. Your mother, Sarah Chun, was the daughter of Chun Wei, one of the wealthiest businessmen in China. Emma stared at him. What? No, my mother never mentioned anything about being wealthy. We lived in a normal house. My parents worked normal jobs. Because your mother was disowned, Charles explained gently. When Sarah was 22, she fell in love with your father, David Parker. David was an American teacher working in Beijing. Sarah's father, Chun Wei, forbade the relationship. He had arranged for Sarah to marry a wealthy Chinese businessman, but Sarah refused. She chose love over money. Emma's mind was spinning. This couldn't be real. Chun Wei disowned Sarah, Charles continued. He cut her off completely, told her she was no longer his daughter. So Sarah left China with your father, came to America, and started a new life with nothing. They built a life through hard work, without any of the Chun family fortune. I had no idea, Emma stammered. My mother never talked about her family in China. I asked a few times when I was little, but she'd get sad and change the subject. Eventually, I stopped asking. There's more, Charles said softly. Chun Wei died 6 months ago. Emma felt a strange hollowness. A grandfather she'd never known was dead. He was 92 years old, Charles continued, and according to his will, which was filed in international court, he spent his final years filled with regret. He realized too late that he'd let pride and tradition cost him his daughter. He tried to find Sarah to reconcile, but he learned she had died in the car accident that also killed your father. Tears streamed down Emma's face. Her mother had died never knowing that her father regretted his cruelty. They'd never gotten the chance to make peace. Chun Wei's will is very specific, Charles said, his voice gentle but firm. Since his daughter Sarah predeceased him, and since she had only one child, the entire Chin family fortune goes to her only living descendant. Charles looked directly into Emma's eyes. Emma, you are Chun Wei's sole heir. You've inherited everything. Emma couldn't breathe. What does that mean? Everything. Charles slid a paper across the desk. It showed numbers. So many numbers that Emma couldn't even process them. The Chin Family Trust Fund, businesses, properties, and investments are worth approximately $1.2 trillion, Charles said. The room seemed to tilt. Emma gripped the arms of her chair to keep from falling over. That's not possible, Emma whispered. Trillion? That can't be real. It's very real, Charles assured her. The legal paperwork is already in process. Because you're Chun Wei's only living descendant, and because the will is ironclad, you inherit everything. Within a few months, once all the international legal matters are settled, you'll have access to the fortune. Emma couldn't speak, couldn't think. Just weeks ago, she'd been homeless, starving, freezing to death in an alley. Now she was being told she was one of the richest people in the world. I don't understand, Emma finally said. Why didn't anyone contact me before? How did they not know I existed? Chun Wei's lawyers had been searching for any descendants for months after his death, Charles explained. But you were homeless. You had no permanent address, no way to be contacted. The legal notices they published in newspapers never reached you. It was pure chance that Robert's investigation into your background for the Marcus case uncovered your connection to the Chun family. Emma stood up suddenly, pacing the room, trying to make sense of this impossible information. This is insane, she muttered. A few weeks ago, I was begging for spare change. Now you're telling me I'm a trillionaire? This kind of thing doesn't happen in real life. I know it's overwhelming, Charles said sympathetically. But it's true. And Emma, this money is your birthright. It's what your mother gave up for love. It's what your grandfather wanted you to have. Emma stopped pacing and looked at Charles. You said the legal process will take a few months? Yes, Charles confirmed. International inheritance law is complex, especially with amounts this large. But my lawyers are already working with the Chinese legal team. Everything is legitimate and proper. So what do I do in the meantime? Emma asked. Just wait. You rest, Charles said firmly. You recover. You take care of your daughter. You let yourself heal from everything you've been through. And when the time comes, we'll make sure you're prepared to handle this responsibly. Emma sat back down, her legs weak. She thought about Lily, sleeping peacefully in her nursery. Lily would never want for anything. Never go hungry. Never be cold. Never suffer the way Emma had suffered. But Emma also thought about Marcus. Marcus, who had abandoned her when she needed him most. Marcus, who had left her and Lily to starve and freeze. Marcus, who had said she was desperate and pathetic. What would Marcus do if he found out the woman he'd thrown away like trash was now worth more than $1 trillion? As if reading her mind, Charles said quietly, Emma, when news of your inheritance becomes public, and it will, these things always get out, your life is going to change dramatically. There will be media attention. People from your past might try to contact you. You need to be prepared for that. People like Marcus, Emma said, understanding dawning. Yes, Charles confirmed. People like Marcus. Emma felt something shift inside her. The scared, helpless girl who had frozen in that alley was gone. In her place was someone harder. Someone who'd been through hell and survived. Let him come, Emma said, her voice cold and steady. Let him find out what he threw away. Let him see what he gave up. Charles studied her carefully. Revenge is a dangerous path, Emma. I don't want revenge, Emma said, though she wasn't sure if that was entirely true. I just want him to know. I want him to see that he's nothing. That while he's still out there scamming desperate women for pennies, the woman he abandoned is worth more than he could steal in 1,000 lifetimes. Just don't let it consume you, Charles advised gently. You have a daughter who needs you. That's what matters most. Emma nodded. Charles was right, of course. Lily was what mattered. Everything else was just noise. But still, somewhere deep inside, Emma couldn't help but imagine Marcus's face when he learned the truth. Over the next month, Emma's life transformed in ways she never could have imagined. Charles hired tutors to help Emma learn about finances, investments, and business management. Emma had never graduated from college, but she was smart and eager to learn. She studied hard, determined to be worthy of her inheritance. Charles also hired security. 2 professional bodyguards now discreetly followed Emma whenever she left the estate. First, Emma hated it. She felt like a prisoner. But Charles explained that with her inheritance becoming public knowledge, Emma and Lily could become targets for kidnapping or worse. Your safety and Lily's safety come first, Charles said. Always. Emma's wardrobe changed too. The thrift store clothes and donated items were replaced with designer dresses, tailored pants, elegant shoes. A stylist came to the house and helped Emma find a style that felt both comfortable and sophisticated. When Emma looked in the mirror now, she barely recognized herself. Her hair was professionally cut and styled. Her skin glowed with health. Her eyes had a confidence they'd never had before. But the biggest change was internal. Emma had spent so much of her life feeling small and insignificant. But now, learning about her mother's family, understanding the legacy she carried, Emma began to feel different. She wasn't just Emma Parker, abandoned wife and homeless mother. She was Emma Parker, granddaughter of Chun Wei, heir to one of the world's great fortunes, and most importantly, mother to Lily. 6 weeks after moving into Charles's home, the legal paperwork finally cleared. The Chun family fortune was officially Emma's. The day the announcement was made public, Emma's life exploded. Within hours, her name and face were all over the news. Homeless mother inherits $1 trillion fortune, the headlines read. From streets to riches, the Cinderella story of Emma Parker. Emma's phone, a new one Charles had given her, rang constantly with reporters requesting interviews. The gates of the Whitmore estate were mobbed with cameras and journalists. Charles's security team went into high alert. No one could get onto the property without proper clearance. Emma was advised not to leave the house until the media frenzy died down. But Emma didn't mind. She had everything she needed right here. She had Lily, who was now 3 months old and thriving. She had Charles, who had become like a father to her. She had safety and security. What Emma didn't have was any word from Marcus. 3 days after the announcement, that changed. Emma was reading in the library when Maria brought her a phone message. "Miss Emma," Maria said hesitantly, "there's a man at the gate. He says his name is Marcus Dawson, and he's your husband." Emma's blood ran cold, then hot, then cold again. "He's here," Emma said, standing up quickly. "Yes," Maria confirmed. "Security won't let him in, of course. But he's demanding to see you. He says he has rights as your husband." Emma felt a surge of emotion, anger, hurt, and something else. Something that felt almost like satisfaction. He came, just like she knew he would. The moment he heard about the money, he came running back. "Tell security to send him away," Emma said coldly. "Are you sure?" Maria asked. "He's being quite insistent. He's saying he'll call lawyers, that he has legal rights to see you and the baby." Emma walked to the window that overlooked the front gate. In the distance, she could see a figure arguing with the security guards. Even from here, she recognized Marcus. His handsome face, his expensive clothes, his confident posture. The man who had thrown her away like garbage when she needed him most. The man who had told her to get rid of their baby. The man who had blocked her number and disappeared like a ghost. And now he was back, demanding his rights. Emma felt something hard and cold settle in her chest. She walked to Charles's study, where he was reviewing some business documents. "Marcus is here," Emma said quietly. Charles looked up sharply. "Here? At the gate?" "Yes," Emma confirmed. "He wants to see me. He's claiming he has rights as my husband." Charles's expression darkened. "What do you want to do?" Emma thought for a long moment. Part of her wanted to never see Marcus's face again, to just let security drag him away and be done with it. But another part of her, a stronger part, wanted to look Marcus in the eyes, wanted to see his face when he realized exactly what he'd given up. "I want to see him," Emma said, "but on my terms, in my space, with my security present." Charles studied her carefully. "Are you sure? You don't owe him anything, Emma. Not your time, not your attention, nothing." "I know," Emma said, "but I need to do this. I need him to see me, to see what I've become, to understand what he threw away." Charles nodded slowly. "Then we'll do it properly. We'll have him brought to the visiting room. Security will be present. And the moment you want him gone, just say the word." Emma took a deep breath. "Okay, let's do this." 30 minutes later, Emma sat in the estate's formal visiting room. She'd chosen her outfit carefully. A sleek black dress that was both elegant and powerful. Her hair was styled perfectly. She wore minimal makeup, but her natural beauty shone through. She looked nothing like the desperate, broken girl Marcus had abandoned. Charles sat beside her. 2 security guards stood by the doors. Emma held all the power in this room. The door opened, and Marcus walked in. For a moment, he just stared at Emma, his mouth slightly open in shock. "Emma?" he said, as if he couldn't believe it was really her. "My God. You look incredible." Emma kept her face neutral, emotionless. "Hello, Marcus. Or should I say Marcus Dawson, since apparently Marcus Thompson was just one of your many fake names." Marcus had the decency to look uncomfortable, but he quickly recovered, putting on that charming smile Emma had once fallen for. "Okay, I deserve that," Marcus said, holding up his hands. "Look, I know I messed up. I was scared, Emma. I panicked when you got pregnant. I wasn't ready for that responsibility. So you left us to freeze to death in the snow," Emma said coldly. Marcus flinched. "I didn't know things would get that bad. I thought you had family or friends or you didn't think about me at all, Emma interrupted. You blocked my number. You disappeared. You didn't care if I lived or died. If our daughter lived or died. Our daughter, Marcus latched onto those words. Lily, that's her name, right? I'd like to meet her. Absolutely not, Emma said firmly. Marcus's charming facade cracked slightly. Emma, I'm her father. I have rights. You have no rights, Charles spoke up for the first time. You abandoned your wife and child. You committed fraud by marrying Emma under a false name. You have at least 7 other victims that law enforcement knows about. You have no rights to anything. Marcus's eyes narrowed as he looked at Charles. And who are you? Her sugar daddy. Watch your mouth. One of the security guards growled. Stepping forward, Marcus quickly backed down. He turned his attention back to Emma, his expression becoming pleading. Emma, please, he said. I made mistakes, huge mistakes, but I want to make things right. We're still married. We're still a family. And now with this inheritance, we could give Lily such an amazing life together. And there it was, the real reason he'd come back. You want the money, Emma said flatly. No, Marcus protested, but Emma could see the lie in his eyes. I want my family back. I want to be a father to Lily. I want to be a husband to you. The money doesn't matter. Really? Emma said, standing up. Then sign this. She picked up a document from the table beside her and held it out to Marcus. What is it? Marcus asked suspiciously. It's a legal document, Emma explained. It states that you voluntarily give up all parental rights to Lily. And it's a postnuptial agreement stating that if we stay married, you have no claim to any of my inheritance. Sign it, and I'll consider allowing you back into my life. Marcus's face went white, then red. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious, Emma said. If you really want us back, if you really care about being a father and a husband, and the money doesn't matter, then this shouldn't be a problem, right? Marcus stared at the document like it was a snake. Emma could practically see the calculations running through his head. This is a trick, Marcus said finally. You're trying to trick me. No trick, Emma said calmly. Just the truth. Sign it and prove you love us for us. Or refuse to sign it and prove you only came back for the money. Marcus looked at Emma, then at Charles, then at the security guards. He was trapped and he knew it. I need time to think about this, Marcus stammered. This is a big decision. I need to talk to a lawyer. Get out, Emma said quietly. What? Get out of my house, Emma repeated, her voice harder now. You have 5 seconds to leave before security removes you. Emma, wait. Marcus started forward, but the security guards immediately blocked his path. I came back for you, Marcus shouted, his mask completely falling away now. His face was twisted with anger and greed. I came back and this is how you treat me? I'm your husband. I have rights to that money. It's community property. Actually, Charles said calmly, due to the inheritance's international origin and the specific terms of Chun Wei's will, none of it is community property. Emma owns it all independently. And since you married her under a fraudulent name, the marriage itself may not even be legally valid. Marcus's face turned purple with rage. You can't do this. I'll sue. I'll tell everyone what a heartless person you are. You'll do nothing, Emma said, her voice like ice. Because if you try anything, if you go to the press, if you try to sue, if you come anywhere near me or my daughter ever again, I will use every dollar of my trillion-dollar fortune to destroy you. I will have the best lawyers in the world make sure you spend the rest of your life in prison for fraud. I will make certain that every woman you've ever conned knows your face and your name. I will make your life so miserable that you'll wish you'd never met me. Emma stepped closer to Marcus, close enough that she could see the fear in his eyes. You had a chance to have all of this, Emma said softly. You had a woman who loved you, a beautiful daughter, and now you could have had access to a fortune beyond imagination. But you threw it all away because you're a coward and a con artist who only cares about yourself. She stepped back. Now get out. And if I ever see your face again, I'll have you arrested. Marcus looked like he wanted to say more, but the security guards were already escorting him toward the door. At the doorway, Marcus turned back one last time. His face was a mixture of rage, regret, and something that looked almost like desperation. "You'll regret this," he said. "Nobody rejects Marcus Dawson." "I just did," Emma said. "And I've never felt better about anything in my life." The door closed behind Marcus. Emma heard his shouting fade as security dragged him off the property. Emma stood there for a moment, breathing hard, her heart racing. Then suddenly her legs felt weak. She sat down heavily in the chair. "Are you all right?" Charles asked with concern, coming to her side. Emma looked up at him. And then, to her own surprise, she started laughing. It started as a small chuckle but grew into full, genuine laughter. Tears streamed down her face, but they were tears of relief, of victory, of freedom. "I did it," Emma gasped between laughs. "Oh my God. I actually did it." Charles smiled, understanding. "Yes, you did. You were magnificent." Emma's laughter finally subsided. She wiped her eyes and took a deep breath. "He actually thought I'd take him back," Emma said, shaking her head in wonder. "He actually thought he could just show up, flash that smile, and I'd forget everything he did to us." "Men like Marcus never learn," Charles said. "They think everyone can be manipulated. They can't comprehend that some people actually have integrity and self-respect." Emma looked toward the window, watching as security's car drove Marcus off the property and out of her life forever. "He's going to try something," Emma said quietly. "He's not going to just give up and disappear." "I know," Charles agreed, "which is why we'll be ready for whatever he tries." Emma stood up and straightened her dress. "Good. Let him try. I'm not the same scared girl he left in the snow. I'm stronger now. I'm ready." From upstairs, Emma heard Lily crying, her daughter waking up from her nap. "That's my cue," Emma said with a real smile. "My baby needs me." As Emma left the room to go to her daughter, Charles watched her with pride and admiration. The broken, frozen girl he'd found in that alley 3 months ago was gone. In her place was a woman of strength, grace, and power. And somewhere out there, Marcus Dawson was learning the hardest lesson of his life. You don't throw away something precious and expect to get it back when it becomes valuable. Some mistakes can never be undone. 2 weeks after Emma kicked Marcus out, everything seemed peaceful. Too peaceful. Emma was in the garden with Lily when Charles rushed outside, his face pale. "Emma, you need to see this," he said, holding his phone. On the screen was a news article. "Billionaire heiress abuses homeless people. Former husband tells all." Marcus had gone to the media with lies. He claimed Emma was cruel and heartless. He said she refused to help the homeless even though she'd been homeless herself. He painted himself as the victim, a loving husband who Emma rejected for not being rich enough. The comments under the article were brutal. People who didn't know the truth were calling Emma terrible names. "He's trying to destroy your reputation," Charles said angrily. Emma felt that familiar fear creeping back. But then she looked down at Lily, sleeping peacefully in her arms, and something inside her hardened. "No," Emma said firmly. "I won't let him win. Call every major news station. I'm going to tell my real story." The next day, Emma sat for her first television interview. She told everything: the fake marriage, the abandonment, freezing in the snow with her newborn baby, Marcus's real identity as a con artist. But Emma didn't just defend herself. She announced something bigger. "I'm creating the Sarah Chun Foundation," Emma said to the cameras. "Named after my mother, who chose love over money. The foundation will help homeless mothers and children. We'll provide housing, food, medical care, job training, and childcare. Because I know what it's like to be desperate and invisible." Emma looked directly into the camera. "Marcus Dawson thought he could use my past against me. Instead, he reminded me why I survived, to help others who are suffering like I did." The interview went viral. Within hours, people discovered Marcus's criminal history. His other victims came forward. The public turned against him completely. 3 days later, Police arrested Marcus for fraud and identity theft. He wouldn't be bothering Emma again for a very long time. 6 months later, Emma stood at the opening ceremony of the first Sarah Chun Foundation shelter. It could house 50 families and had a daycare, medical clinic, and job training center. Charles stood beside her, holding Lily, who was now 9 months old and giggling happily. "Your mother would be so proud," Charles said softly. Emma smiled, tears in her eyes. "I hope so." As Emma cut the ribbon, she thought about everything that had happened. The pain, the suffering, the struggle. It had all led her here, to this moment, to this purpose. She had inherited $1 trillion, but she'd gained something far more valuable. The strength to help others rise from the ashes like she had. Marcus had tried to break her. Instead, he'd helped create the woman she was always meant to be. Emma looked at Lily and whispered, "We made it, baby girl. We're going to be just fine." And they were.